Hey guys, welcome back to ATV Offroad Fury 2, again with Insetic and Blank Tester. It is Big Mac 93.
Everybody in the club getting tipsy. In between the videos, I showed them the intro to the first SmackDown television intro.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is just Jim Johnston muttering to himself.
Selling crack.
But it's still hilarious. You guys need to check that out.
Yeah.
So,
alright.
You're still doing this shit.
Yeah.
What shit? This shit?
Yeah. I'm not saying that it is shit. I'm just saying this shit you are doing.
What is this shit?
Alright, well, I'm about to go into the Pro Enduro event, and honestly, throughout the whole game, we've experimented with the stats, except for suspension.
Okay.
We talked about it a little, and I still don't really know what suspension does. But here in this video, I'm going to test moving it over to soft suspension as much as I can.
I'll tell you exactly what it does, because I do have a little bit of know-how of how vehicles, and especially off-road
we know what
work.
suspension does in real life, but how does the stat of suspension affect your gameplay?
It essentially affects how easy or how difficult it may be to preload your jumps, or for turning.
Traction was turning. That middle stat was turning.
Yeah,
definitely.
well, the traction is based off of your tires, but suspension is more along of how tight the springs are.
I'm going to do something that I know Blank Tester loves. First person.
Yeah.
First person view.
You know,
did we ever get to see your elbows? That's always my favorite part, because it always just stops at the elbows.
Yeah, Big Mac, we'll get right back to that, but I just really quickly want to say, I know this is going to sound weird, but I think first person really does add something to the game.
Really?
I
think it kind of does.
It is more enjoyable, I think, in first person. Or at least, certainly, the jumps feel a little bigger.
Yeah, I can see. It seems like it feels faster, too.
Things feel a little more... Intense is too strong a word, but you do feel a little more involved. You know, you don't feel like you're just going through the motions as much.
So maybe if it was like it was defaulted to first person, that might have been better.
Yeah.
Speaking of, you could choose maybe.
Speaking of motion, late notice for those who might suffer motion sickness.
Yeah, the game actually does a pretty good job of keeping you as, you know, what you would see. Like if you go over bumps and such, your view looks up and down, you know, kind of like your guy's getting bounced around. It's not just aiming straight forward. Now, of course, for tricks, that goes into third person because they didn't animate that. But, you know, as I'm bumping around all over the place...
Well, it's not that they didn't animate it what it looked like in first person, it's just, if you're doing a trick, you would want to see what the trick looks like if you're playing it.
I don't know. I think it would be better to see it in first person.
I agree. It would be cool to see what it looks like in first person, but it's more along the lines of they probably did feel that they couldn't program it to look right. So they just decided if instead of just having it look straightforward while you're doing the trick, might as well jump back out to third person to let people see the trick, because that's a lot of the things of games where you have like big air stunts. You're going to want to see what
the thing is, like, in this game, you're not going to be doing a lot of flips. Like, in Downhill Domination, it made sense for it to pull back out to third person, because they have no idea how, you know, when you're doing the trick, how many, like, spins or flips you're going to be doing.
Yeah.
And it'd be really, really, really confusing.
Actually, for Downhill Domination, the first person, if you just did spins or flips, it's
really jarring.
Person.
Yeah, it's really jarring. That's my point.
Example.
If you're doing... not just as an example. That's my point. If you're doing a trick,
okay, he definitely killed that guy.
It's in first person, and you're doing a flip, which you most of the time are doing in Downhill Domination, then it's going to be really jarring. If you're just doing a flip, you can focus on that and not focus on seeing the trick. While in this, you're in third person when you're doing the trick, but the third person's so close behind you, you can hardly see what's in front of you.
But if you're in the air doing the trick.
Here, let's pause for a short second, because you may have noticed that I passed this guy on my second lap, and he's still in place on the third lap. And
okay, that's dead.
I think this guy's having some trouble.
Oh.
What the fuck?
Maybe he's not dead.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I think this guy's having a lot of trouble.
I think
Damn.
that guy must have really messed with the suspension too much.
Yeah.
He turned the suspension to gone.
You know,
He turned it off.
No,
talked about-
his suspension is those springs that they use for the bounce pads in Sonic.
Yeah.
yeah, I said this last video, but I do actually think the Enduro races are pretty good, and especially kind of with the first person, and what I'm doing here is sort of not only just kind of driving along in the first lap, but I also kind of want to look at the AI a little, because like I said, when you're not confined to such a narrow path, and in the Enduro events, when you can kind of go a little out of bounds, and as long as you get to the next gate, you're fine, the AI has the chance to, kind of do a few more interesting things.
Yeah.
So Enduro, I will ask, does Enduro basically mean that you'd be going through all these large tracks throughout the game? That it just basically be they would select one area, like you would select what area you want to do all these races in, and then they have different tracks around this area that you do all these races in?
There's different areas, and there's one race per area.
But would it necessarily
race
be
is
like
big.
if you select an Enduro race, it would just automatically push you through all these different races? Like it would have you do them one after another?
I'm in the championships, so I'm in the Enduro Championship. If you did a single race, of course you'd do a single race.
Okay. Well, I was just kind of curious about it because I'm not sure where the Enduro comes from. Because Enduro usually means...
Enduro is the name of it's the name of the event type, and the event type is that it's.
I understand,
a big
but
open
why
map
would they
with-
call it? Why would they call that event Enduro if it's just simply seems like races, but outside on these?
They're big races.
Yeah.
Okay,
You're
so it's just
enduring-
necessarily they're longer races. That's
Probably real-life Enduro events are much longer courses that you might maybe even only do a single lap on. And of course, in this game, they've consolidated that kind of to be
it. Okay.
as long a race as they kind of reasonably can make in an area.
I would figure an Enduro race would essentially be on the same track, a large track, for as many laps as you can, and the last person wins.
Well, I mean,
Well, yeah, there's...
I don't know. I don't know how that would work in a game. Obviously, if you couldn't respawn in an event like that, then you make one mistake and you crash, and then you're just fucked.
Yeah, that seems
in
like
real
a
life, obviously that
big
makes
challenge.
sense because you don't respawn in real life. You have to reset up and stuff. But
Yeah.
in a game, I think people would probably be pissed off about that. Especially people who are really bad at the game, who kind of just get through on the skin of their teeth, are gonna fuck up at some point pretty early on and always lose.
Yeah.
And people who are really good are never gonna fuck up, and then then there's just there's no competition there.
But I guess that's just kind of the point of wanting to better your skills, into which it gets to the point that you can do such things as the type of Enduro race I just exclaimed. Because you'd want to try to get good at a game if you really like it.
Yeah, but the game's really mediocre.
Maybe then
Some people like to get good at mediocre things.
you probably
Why do you think
wouldn't-
professional golf is still around on television?
because people like my dad watch television. Yeah.
I was waiting for a funny break from that conversation. It was going nowhere.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
I don't even remember. I mean, it sounds weird, and this might sound weird, but I think driving along first person, especially kind of watching what the AI is doing for a while, is fun.
Well, it's made to
A
be
lot
immersive.
more enjoyable than.
Yeah.
You feel more attached to it that way.
Yeah. And then in laps 2 and 3, I can, try to win. But at least, for one lap, I'm kind of showing off the track, kind of showing off what goes on, making it a little bit more of an event than if I was in the lead from the
Right.
start.
Then it's what's the point of AI competitors at all if you're in the lead most of the time?
It's why I have the highlights, in general. You guys can kind of guess what happens lap 2, 3, 4, 5, except for kind of the standout, funnier moments.
You didn't have to be so chauvinistic about it. You could have just really said, "I sucked at this race," and nobody would have batted an eye
What?
for being behind all the other people.
Oh,
no,
You
I
could
don't-
have just said, "I lagged behind at this race."
that's my weakness. I'm too honest.
You didn't have to make it sound like you're just trying to sell ATV racing, as if it wasn't actually a sport.
to be fair, it is boring as shit.
Yeah. I mean, I guess when the wind's blowing through your hair and all that shit. Oh, damn.
Wind or
back of the
wooden
skull,
post.
straight to a wooden thing.
Damn.
My dude's DED dead.
Yeah, D.
I'm pretty sure that's just a wooden support or like a gate.
It would still kill.
Still, yeah.
Yeah, it would definitely kill you. I'm not saying that it
kick
would.
that dude in the fucking face.
Yeah, back kick.
Yeah.
Getting the bloodlust back like halfway through the race. Good to see that.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, and actually, if you get knocked out in first-person mode, you stay in
That
first
is
person.
awesome. The first time
As
I
your
really
guy
saw.
rides around.
I haven't
pretty
seen it
cool.
that well since they released GTA 5 on Xbox One.
Yeah.
And every
Yeah.
time you get hit by something in there in first person, it's always hilarious.
Yeah. So, well, Big Mac, you were kind of right. You noticed clips from laps 2 and laps 3 where I still wasn't in the lead. These
Yeah.
enduro races, and especially these pro ones, you are fighting till the end.
Okay, so it was necessarily that you've done it multiple times? Is that what you're saying?
Well, in the first laps, admittedly, I kind of hang back a little, but in laps 2 and 3, I'm trying to win, and the AI stays with you pretty well. You know,
Okay.
I don't know if it's...
I'm guessing that's just rubber banding.
Yeah.
It's pretty consistent rubber banding, though, so it's not like you blow way ahead and then they zoom by at twice your speed, but then they get 20 feet ahead and slowly crawl.
No, we give that shite award to Ride to Hell Retribution.
Yeah, of course.
And
You
speaking
pulled
of which,
a sick
sick
wheelie?
fucking wheelie.
I'm just letting them,
Get ahead.
I'm giving them
Okay.
a 5-second advantage.
I was just giving you compliments on the wheelie.
No,
a
it
good
was a
wheelie.
sick wheelie.
That was like a good 200 feet.
But yeah, the AI stays with you and makes you feel like, you know, you've got to...
Yeah, make it feel like a competition instead of just blowing past them.
And then, of course, near the end, you usually pull ahead and, you know, win it.
And then you get the babes.
Yeah.
The digital babes.
Well, I mean, Big Mac, if you haven't noticed, as soon as I get first in one event, I can just basically come in last the next one after.
Yeah.
To a point where the last race literally says, place needed, not applicable.
You guaranteed
to,
to win.
to pass the win the championship.
Okay, so like you get so many first places, then it doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
what
It's not
position
even
get
that
in
you
the
get
next
so many
races.
first places, because the second place and third place amounts of points. As long as you get
As-
first place at some point,
I was about to say,
and you kind of
if-
maintain
I was
a
about to
decent.
say, as long as you get a podium by the end of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand how some of these tournaments work from playing other games of the same type.
yeah.
Where as
Yeah.
long as you get a podium,
It just
you
strikes
pass
me as
through.
such a. It strikes me as so weird that you can get far enough into the race where, or into the championship where, regardless of how well anyone else does or how poorly you do, you're guaranteed first place in the championship, in the final race.
Yeah.
It just strikes me as so
Like
weird.
maybe no matter how well you've been doing, how you do in the last race determines what medal you get. Like you're saying. Maybe
No,
you
I'm
won
saying that just
instead?
tweak the points given so that if you win first place in every other event, that's still not a guaranteed win. It should be the sum of all points.
Okay, I think so. In the final race, that the points don't matter
Well,
because they should matter. That's basically how the tournament works.
I get so many points for coming in first that
Yeah.
usually what I do is, you know, get in first the rest of the time, and at that last race, that means I can get no points and still be ahead of everyone
Yeah,
else.
that's exactly what it means because you've earned so many points ahead of the
Right.
competition
Yeah.
that you'd
And
still
that's
be
just
getting
because
the
of
first place
bad
podium.
points balancing. Which I don't think is something that's unique to this game. I'm guessing it's probably like the national rules for ATV racing or something.
Yeah.
Is this like a
Yeah,
cinematic
you can,
cam?
Yeah,
That's
you
the
can
worst
hit a
cinematic
button-
cam I've ever seen.
You can hit a button and go into like cinematic cam, which basically just
Camera locks.
camera locks and then just watches you go on.
It's okay,
Which-
I'll stay here.
doesn't update. It's just like, you go on ahead.
Yeah.
I'll catch up later.
I played around a bit
Every
with
cinematic
it, but,
camera I've ever used updates
yeah,
to
but
your position
it gets me into
specifically because
some
of that.
trouble, you know.
Now that you can't
Why
blame on the
wouldn't it?
camera. That was your own stupidity.
Why wouldn't it update? That's so useless.
Maybe it's for
Hey, see you later.
I don't
Okay,
know.
bye.
Maybe it's not for this purpose. Maybe it's for
What?
it's probably for like going off of a jump and busting a sick trick.
Maybe if you drop the camera, you'll have less weight on your bike and you'll go faster.
Yeah,
But of course, you won't know where you're going.
it's a trade-off. It's blinding speed.
Or it's just fucking stupid.
Or it's just fucking
yeah,
stupid.
it's just
It's
something
bad
they
game
added.
design. which I think that's been
something
fixed in
added
every
to it.
other video game since.
Yeah. So, lap 3, I was doing well, but always at this last little thing someone gets ahead.
Fucking Green Power Ranger.
Yeah.
But you still got 4 points, which
Yeah, it
you
doesn't
currently have
matter.
32 points in. Nobody else has
Yeah.
points, apparently.
I mean, let's look at the points you get each
Yeah,
place.
I just
First
see
place,
that you were 7
get
points
7.
ahead.
Second, you get 4. Third, you get 2. That's such a big difference.
It's
even
huge
between-
spread. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a confusing spread.
Yeah, it's back to, Did you notice that in the Supercross events there was like a more orchestral version of that?
Really?
Whereas in the Nationals and Enduro, it's kind of
this-
the more rocking one. It's the same kind of tune.
It's the same tune every time the race starts and ends, and it's really generic.
Yeah.
But they used a different instrumental arrangement for
I think,
Supercross?
yeah, Supercross.
That's weird.
It's what we call butt rock.
Listen
Yeah.
back to the video, or, I could just play it for you in case I've made the audio too
I
low.
don't care. Yeah.
And we talked about this during the amateur Enduro, but kind of one of the unique things about the Enduro events is you're not absolutely locked onto a path, so you can kind of make your own little shortcuts as long as you get to the next gate. And I think the events in the pro championship do show that off even better, even more. You'll be able to see in these last few races that sometimes I fall off the path, or sometimes I decide to cut a corner for myself. But I'm certainly able to cut these corners, and
Yeah.
And sometimes
That's-
you're able to run into a trip.
yeah, and that's interesting to me because
Or
again, the
both.
rest of the game really doesn't do that great a job at having any shortcuts of any kind.
Yeah.
So when it opens up, it gives you a little bit of freedom.
Yeah, but it does kind of ruin it does basically, I remember you playing Freestyle. That had, open opportunities for shortcuts, and they were laid out shortcuts. You
Yeah.
were on a fixed track, basically, but you had shortcuts. In this game,
There were
it's
lots
kind of
of-
like the opposite. You had the freedom to go wherever you want, but there's no laid out shortcut for you to go, so there's not much point.
This mode, yeah.
Because
mode.
it seems like there's
It's
different...
kind of the reverse of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it seems like there's different paths you can take, but those paths don't actually lead to the next gate.
Right.
So
It's
it
just
might
a
be
big open
misleading for
area.
some people who are thinking, oh, I go on this path, I'll be able to get to the gate quicker than everybody else. Next thing you know, you're on the other side of the map.
Well,
So prior
but-
knowledge of different games to where they might have laid out shortcuts for you could end up screwing you over in modes like this.
I guess so. Though in this game, the gates are pretty much laid along the trails and are
There's
close
not
Yeah,
enough
they're laid,
space
they're
between
laid
them
along
that
the
you're-
trails, but it's kind of a way to say that when you're on these trails and you get to the next gate, you find another trail, like a smaller trail, and your first instinct as a gamer is, oh, I go on this small trail, surely it's a shortcut that'll lead me to the next gate quicker.
I
When
don't
it
know.
turns
I
out-
mean,
oh, wait,
I
no,
mean,
this is
again,
another
these things are so close together that you've got this big freaking arrow in your way,
yeah.
Yeah.
like up on the top of the screen, telling you go that way, go that way. So you're probably even if there's a turn coming up, you might cut that corner, like right there. You cut that corner so that you didn't have to stick to the trail. But it's not like there was like a smaller trail in between. It was more like the two were close enough together that it didn't really matter. But in the other parts of the game, you've got like no ability to go off the trail at all. I mean, you've got like these trails that are rather thin, I think.
Yeah, it sets
And-
up a path for you that you don't necessarily
but
have
you
to
get
take.
you get knocked off your bike, or it tells you to go back if you go off the trail even a little bit. Which I think maybe not having shortcuts, because shortcuts wouldn't be realistic at all. I mean, in an actual ATV race, they don't do that.
Right.
They don't set up shortcuts because everyone would just take the shortcut. But like, I don't know, maybe sort of unofficial. I don't know.
Yeah, it
You'd
definitely
still be
doesn't seem like
cheating.
definitely doesn't seem like the kind of game that would need shortcuts or really would have an excuse to have them.
Right, I'm not. I mean, I think it would be better with shortcuts, but I don't think.
I guess
they'd
so.
have a
But it's
good
not really the
excuse for
arcade
that.
type of racer that you would want
Yeah.
shortcuts in.
Yeah, but I still don't think
I-
the game's as good as
Yeah,
it.
I guess so.
Like,
I
if
just-
it was a better game overall, then it would be fine without the shortcuts. But the fact that the game's just not that great.
Yeah, when there's no shortcuts and no ability to kind of go off the path even for a little bit, when you feel stuck.
It might not be arcadey. It might be realistic or trying to go for realistic, but it's just not fun.
Yeah, it kind of led to average races, which is why this little degree of freedom, I feel, only contributes and improves.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's interesting to think, what if there was, one gate over here and another gate on the complete other side of the level, and you determined how you got there? I mean, other games have done that, like the Midnight Club series did that in city races, and
then it's this big city, and so if you know the city really well, you might be able to cut through an alleyway or something. But
I mean, that might be something the game could have tried. Maybe even just having one race like that as a proof of concept. And
but they didn't.
You know what did? Krusty
What?
Demons.
Krusty Demons.
I'll fucking remind you of that for the rest of your life.
Krusty Demons races were on normal stuff.
I know,
Well,
but
I mean,
still,
the Krusty Demons races were, but the Krusty Demons...
I just still wanted to remind you of the fact that you actually played that piece of shit.
Man.
Because every
can
time
ever
you've mentioned
forget.
it before, you sighed almost instantly.
I played Krusty Demons.
You played a lot.
I played a game called Krusty Demons.
And it wasn't
There were a
about
group of people.
about pussy trolls.
Yeah, that was named after a group of people called the Krusty Demons of Dirt.
They
Well,
thought,
they're like
this
they're-
is a good name. We
they're-
want to go by
they're-
this name.
Yeah.
Well, if Walmart is to Metal Militia, then Krusty Demons is to Kmart, right? Or
Maybe.
to
Maybe,
Piggly
I
Wiggly
guess.
or something. Maybe
Though
they're
there
only
is
more
no
specifically
ending
known.
Metallica song named Krusty Demons that will ever...
No,
Yeah.
Tesla makes that song.
Oh. Van Kampf Generator makes that song, or however you say it. Van de Graaff. I fucked that up bad. Take away my music cred.
Slam
You have
Jam
no
makes that
music
song.
Slam Zone.
Yeah.
That's an actual band.
Slam Zone?
Slam
Oh,
Jam.
what about that?
Slam Jam's an
That
actual
wasn't a
band.
kill.
That wasn't a kill. I threw him off his ATV.
You didn't even mean to.
He got in my way.
You know what
You know,
ATV
he would-
Off-Road Fury 2 needs? Finishers.
Yeah.
You need to
X-ray
plow
moves.
the guy's head through the handlebars.
You see, like, the triangle button pop up on screen, and if you hit it fast enough, you see in first person your guy dive off of your ATV onto another guy's ATV as he's riding it.
Oh,
and
God.
just, like, pile drive the guy off that ATV.
Or
That
like,
would be
like
sick.
a glory kill, like
you
Doom
don't even
style.
steal his vehicle. You just
We need
pile
a
drive.
road
What
rash
if you did
ATV
steal? Like
is what we
you
need.
hop off yours, land on his, rip his head off, make a hood ornament out of it, and then
okay.
like ride away on his ATV.
No, you're
Oh.
both driving you're both driving on a bridge. You get on his bike and just power bomb him off the goddamn bridge
yeah.
Yeah.
and take his bike.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
And your bike turns into a robot.
yeah.
Cause fuck it.
And it runs next to you and shoots people. It's
Just
man,
like
Well,
the ATV becomes your stand.
God. Yeah. I guess while we're on the subject of kind of wrapping up miscellaneous things about the game, it's one of those where you can't really interact with the AI. Like, you can mess with it a little bit, but usually it'll boss you around.
It's a game that seems so vanilla. You have to come up with alternative. You have to come up with alternative motives to what it could be to get some real enjoyment out of it, like you thought you could.
Yeah. I just, like, whenever I see that in a game, I wonder what it would be like if you had a little bit more, kind of
Yeah.
physics with the AI interaction.
Like, you
with
could
it.
say that a bad game is the worst kind of game to have, but at least a bad game gives you something to talk about. A mediocre game just gives you nothing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we kind of struggled for the first half of this game as I tried to adequately explain how average it was. I feel, again, I've stated this a lot, that once we hit the Enduro events, I feel like I really started having more fun with the game, especially first person,
Getting decapitated.
being challenged by the AI, having kind of intense races with them. Not really intense, but, not completely stomping them out of
Well,
the
it's all
water.
outside. How could it be intense?
Yeah,
There's nothing intense outside
yeah.
except for lions and bears.
Did you hear about the skeleton who didn't go to the dance? He had nobody to go with.
Except he's
A man
skeleton.
walks into a bar with a piece of asphalt under his arm and he says, "I'll take a beer and one for the road."
Yeah. I walk into
Dad joke.
a bar and get thrown out.
I once told a dad joke. but he
Yeah.
didn't get it.
I once told a dad joke, and immediately then my son popped into existence. They say when you tell your first dad joke, that's when you become a real man.
They say the times of your life is your childhood.
Yay right.
Yay right.
It's more like a living hell if you ask me.
Yeah.
Alright.
Show us on
Well.
the doll where your dad screwed you out of your money. Takes
Yeah.
the pockets out of the doll.
Yeah.
Show us on the dolly where your dad touched you.
Like on the picture
Is
that
it
doll you
the
painted.
is it the melting clock or the elephants
I was
with the
gonna
giant
say.
legs?
I was gonna show us on the dolly where your dad touched you. I was going to say I'll touch the wheel.
Wheel in the sky keeps on gunning.
What are
Nope.
we talking
Copyright.
about?
Copyright strike.
All
It's
right.
okay, he's a terrible singer.
So we've gone through the Pro Enduro Challenge now, and that'll be the last of the main championships that I show off all of. I still haven't decided what I'm going to do with the freestyle challenges, because actually I can muster together enough to pass the amateur with like a bronze and get access to the pro ones, but it's still not really enjoyable. The game doesn't have a good enough tricking system to make tricking events out of, but I powered through, and maybe I can show you guys some of what goes down. But
Is there anything else in the game?
it'll probably be kind of a clip show. Otherwise, they do have kind of a track editor.
Oh, okay, so we might do something with that.
Yeah, I might do something with that, but for as much possibility as it has, it also does have some downsides.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to say them right now.
Yeah,
or
we'll
maybe
talk
let
about
you
it
guys see
later.
that. Whatever, man. All right. Thanks again, Big Mac, for rolling with us, and thanks everyone if you watched through this whole series. I know that I kind of destroyed your childhood nostalgia, but
Probably didn't.
I feel like, I finally gave a good enough explanation on what I kind of felt about the game. And I hope this was kind of like a well-rounded discussion and video series
About holes too.
I still.
about holes too.
Oh, fuck off.
Digging up them holes remix.
Digging up holes in people's childhood. That's what you
Not
do.
do that again.
All right. We'll see you guys next time.
I'm spitting the
'Cause
water at you.
We probably will have a bonus video or another part or something.
I'm gonna go die again.